There exists a hidden library of impossible things, not in any building or vault, but scattered across our planet, written in stone, whispered in ruins, preserved in objects that shouldn't exist. These are the orphaned chapters of human memory, the sentences that history forgot to finish, the stories that time tried to erase but failed. Consider this: a mechanical computer forged 2,000 years before the first circuit board, underground cities carved with laser-like precision using copper tools, maps depicting coastlines that wouldn't be discovered for another 4 millennia, acoustic chambers that manipulate sound in ways our finest concert halls cannot replicate. These are not fantasies. They are catalogued, measured, authenticated realities that mock our timelines and humble our assumptions about progress. Tonight, we walk the corridors of this impossible library together. 15 mysteries await us, each a doorway to questions that echo through centuries of silence. Close your eyes, let your breathing slow, and allow yourself to drift with me through the shadows of deep time, where the line between history and legend dissolves like mist at dawn. Our journey begins now at the edge of the known world, where even certainty becomes uncertain. The Atlantic Ocean holds its secrets close, wrapped in crushing darkness and pressure that would collapse a human body in seconds. Yet somewhere in these vast waters, according to one of history's most influential philosophers, lies evidence of humanity's greatest cautionary tale, or perhaps its most enduring fiction. Picture the marble halls of Athens, 360 BCE. The city still remembers its golden age, though political turmoil churns beneath the surface. In this atmosphere of intellectual ferment and social questioning, Plato sets stylus to wax tablet, preparing to describe a civilization that would haunt human imagination for millennia. Not as mere fiction, he insists, but as historical memory passed down through Egyptian priests to the Greek lawmaker Solon, who visited Egypt 2 centuries earlier. The tale speaks of an island civilization beyond the Pillars of Heracles, what we now call the Strait of Gibraltar, that flourished 9,000 years before Plato's time. This would place Atlantis around 9,600 BCE, a date that resonates with modern climatology in ways Plato could never have known. This was the end of the Younger Dryas, a period of catastrophic climate change when temperatures plummeted, ice sheets advanced, and sea levels fluctuated dramatically. The precision of Plato's account captivates still. He describes concentric rings of land and water, perfectly circular, creating a pattern visible from the heavens. The outermost ring measured vast distances, while channels 50 meters wide allowed ships to sail from the sea directly to the island's heart. The engineering described seems impossibly advanced. Sophisticated systems channeling both hot and cold springs throughout the city, elaborate drainage preventing floods, cisterns collecting rainwater for dry seasons. The city's circular design served multiple functions beyond mere aesthetics. The alternating rings of land and water created natural defense barriers while enabling efficient transportation. Ships could dock at multiple points along the circular harbors, reducing congestion. Bridges connected the rings at cardinal points, with tunnels beneath allowing vessels to pass. Each bridge contained guard towers and gates that could seal the passages in case of attack. Perhaps most intriguing is Plato's description of orichalcum, a mysterious metal second only to gold in value among the Atlanteans. The temple of Poseidon blazed with this substance, which sparkled like fire. Palace walls contained orichalcum inlays. Even the pillar inscribed with Poseidon's laws was fashioned from this metal. Modern scholars debate whether Plato meant brass, bronze, or some other copper alloy, but no known metal perfectly matches his description. Could this represent a lost metallurgical technique? According to the Timaeus and Critias dialogues, Atlantis initially embodied virtue and wisdom. The city's 10 kingdoms, each ruled by Poseidon's descendants, met regularly to ensure justice and harmony. But power corrupted them over generations. They became aggressive, materialistic, attempting to conquer the Mediterranean. The gods took notice. Then, in a single day and night of earthquakes and floods, the entire civilization vanished beneath the waves, taking with it 9,000 years of accumulated knowledge and achievement. Mainstream scholars view Atlantis as philosophical allegory, Plato's warning about hubris and imperial overreach. The tale's elements mirror contemporary Greek concerns. Naval power echoing Athens' maritime empire, political corruption reflecting recent turmoil, divine retribution embodying Greek tragic themes. Geologically, no evidence supports a sunken continent in the Atlantic. Plate tectonics, unknown in Plato's time, demonstrates that continents don't simply sink beneath the waves, yet tantalizing clues persist across disciplines. Underwater formations near Bimini show curious limestone arrangements. The Azores Islands reveal evidence of dramatic geological changes. Off Spain's coast, the submerged Spartelbank would have been dry land during the Ice Age. Advanced seafaring existed earlier than conventionally believed, as evidenced by obsidian trade routes crossing open ocean and the colonization of Australia requiring sea voyages 50,000 years ago. Alternative researchers propose Atlantis preserves genuine memories of Ice Age civilizations destroyed by meltwater pulses. Graham Hancock and others suggest survivors of this catastrophe seeded knowledge among hunter-gatherers, explaining the near-simultaneous worldwide emergence of agriculture, monumental architecture, and complex societies around 10,000 years ago. The Piri race map of 1513, apparently copied from ancient sources, shows coastlines and geographic features that shouldn't have been known, hinting at advanced ancient surveying capabilities. The search continues because Atlantis represents more than a lost city. It embodies humanity's deepest anxieties about civilizational fragility and our hope that human achievement can somehow transcend catastrophe. Whether historical truth or philosophical metaphor, the story warns that technological advancement without wisdom courts disaster. In our age of climate change and technological hubris, Plato's tale resonates with renewed urgency. As we leave these contested waters where truth and legend merge like ocean currents, we journey eastward to where mystery takes monumental form in limestone and granite, where the impossible stands defiant against time itself. Dawn breaks over the Giza plateau, painting ancient limestone in shades of gold and amber. For 45 centuries, this precise moment has repeated. The Great Pyramid catching first light with mathematical perfection while casting shadows that retreat across sand older than memory. In this daily resurrection of light over stone, we glimpse something eternal, something that speaks to achievements beyond the merely human. Built during the 4th dynasty reign of Pharaoh Khufu around 2560 BCE, the pyramid originally stood 146.5 meters tall, its peak reaching toward heaven with an ambition that would make it humanity's tallest building for the next 3,800 years. Only Lincoln Cathedral would finally surpass it in 1311 CE. Its base covers 13.1 acres, large enough to contain St. Peter's Basilica, Westminster Abbey, St. Paul's Cathedral, and the cathedrals of Milan and Florence combined. The sides average 230.4 meters, with the variance between longest and shortest sides measuring only 4.4 centimeters, an error of merely 0.02%. Cardinal alignment achieves accuracy within 3 minutes of arc, surpassing the precision of many buildings constructed with modern surveying equipment. Inside this mountain of fitted stone, 3 known chambers connect via passages demonstrating extraordinary planning and execution. The descending passage plunges into bedrock at 26.3 degrees, maintaining this angle for over 100 meters with deviation of less than 0.25 centimeters. The Grand Gallery soars upward, 46.7 meters long and 8.5 meters high, its corbelled ceiling a masterpiece of engineering that distributes weight with mathematical elegance. Above the king's chamber, 5 relieving chambers prevent the crushing weight of millions of tons from collapsing the space below. These chambers contain 70-ton granite beams quarried in Aswan, 900 kilometers to the south, somehow transported by river and raised to heights of 60 meters above ground level. In 2017, the Scan Pyramids project using cosmic ray imaging revealed what many suspected: the pyramid holds secrets still. A mysterious void at least 30 meters long sits above the Grand Gallery, its purpose unknown. Could this be another chamber, a structural feature, or something else entirely? Each discovery reinforces that we've only begun to understand this monument. The construction logistics stagger comprehension even today. Conservative estimates indicate 2.3 million blocks averaging 2.5 tons each, though some deep in the structure weigh 15 tons or more. Working continuously for 20 years, the duration recorded by Herodotus, requires quarrying, transporting, and placing one block every 5 minutes, 12 hours daily, without pause. This calculation excludes time for planning, tool maintenance, or achieving the geometric perfection evident throughout. The Diary of Mera Papyrus, discovered in 2013, provides precious contemporary evidence, detailing limestone transport from Tura quarries by boat, but frustratingly lacks construction specifics. Egyptologists explain construction through documented ancient techniques: copper and bronze tools, dolerite pounders for granite work, wooden sledges for transport, lubricated sand reducing friction, and massive earthen ramps. Recent experiments demonstrate that wetting sand reduces pulling force by 50%, allowing reasonable-sized teams to move multi-ton blocks. The pyramid's astronomical alignments, shafts pointing to specific stars, orientation to cardinal directions, reflect religious beliefs linking pharaohs with celestial cycles, particularly the constellation Orion and the star Sirius. Yet anomalies accumulate like sand against stone. Mathematical relationships appear throughout the structure. The perimeter-to-height ratio approximates pi to 2 decimal places, The king's chamber incorporates Pythagorean triangles. The slope angle of 51.8 degrees relates to the golden ratio. Are these relationships intentional encodings or remarkable coincidences? Engineer Christopher Dunn notes acoustic properties in the king's chamber that amplify certain frequencies while cancelling others. The granite's high quartz content could theoretically resonate like a tuning fork. He proposes alternative functions beyond mere burial, though mainstream archaeology remains skeptical. Physical evidence continues yielding surprises. Robot explorations of the Queen's chamber shafts revealed copper pins and blocking stones with additional spaces beyond, purposes unknown. Tool marks on some granite surfaces suggest cutting rates that exceed experimental recreations using proposed ancient methods. The Orion correlation theory, while controversial, notes that the three main pyramids layout matches Orion's belt as it appeared in 10,500 BCE, though this far predates accepted construction dates. Recent discoveries at the nearby workers' village provide insight into the human dimension. These weren't slaves, but skilled laborers, well-fed and medically cared for. Papyri record their pride in the project. Yet this raises further questions. What motivated such dedication to a pharaoh's monument? Was there deeper purpose understood by builders but lost to time? The pyramid transcends its function as tomb or monument. It stands as humanity's boldest declaration against entropy, proclaiming that human will and collective effort can create something approaching permanence. In an age where buildings are designed for decades, not millennia, the pyramid's endurance humbles and inspires. It proves our ancestors thought in geological timescales, building for eternity with a confidence we've lost. Standing before it, observers across centuries report the same sensation, a recognition of capabilities beyond our current understanding. Whether through forgotten techniques, extraordinary organization, or knowledge we've yet to rediscover, the Great Pyramid achieves something beyond the merely monumental. It touches the eternal. From Egypt's supreme achievement in stone, we journey to Anatolia's ancient hills, where an even older mystery rewrites the very origins of civilization itself. In southeastern Turkey, where the Taurus Mountains dissolve into the Mesopotamian plains, a lonely hill called Potbelly Hill, Göbekli Tepe in Turkish, kept humanity's oldest secret for 12 millennia. Beneath the feet of countless shepherds, under soil accumulated through ages, lay a discovery that would shatter archaeological orthodoxy and force us to reconsider the very roots of civilization. The revelation began in 1994, when German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt recognized what others had missed. The limestone slabs littering the surface weren't medieval grave markers, but something infinitely more ancient and significant. Radiocarbon dating delivered results that seemed impossible. Construction began around 9,600 BCE, predating Stonehenge by 6,000 years and the Egyptian pyramids by 7,000 years. This places Göbekli Tepe at the crucial transition from the Ice Age to our current geological epoch, when humans supposedly lived as simple hunter-gatherers without agriculture, permanent settlements, or the social organization necessary for monumental architecture. The complex consists of approximately 20 circular enclosures, though ground-penetrating radar suggests many more await excavation. Each circle follows a consistent pattern that speaks to planning and purpose. T-shaped limestone pillars, some reaching 5.5 meters in height, and weighing up to 10 tons, dominate each enclosure. These aren't crude monoliths, but sophisticated sculptures. The pillars feature arms carved in relief along their sides, hands that meet at their fronts, suggesting highly stylized human forms, perhaps ancestors, perhaps gods, perhaps something else entirely. The artistry displayed challenges every assumption about prehistoric capabilities. Elaborate reliefs cover many pillars, depicting a menagerie of creatures rendered with surprising naturalism. Serpents that seem to writhe across the stone, foxes with alert expressions, wild boars with bristling fur, cranes in flight, vultures with spread wings, scorpions with raised stingers, and lions captured mid-prowl. Many animals are shown in aggressive postures, bared teeth, raised claws, striking positions, suggesting themes of power, danger, or transformation. The carving quality varies from simple outlines to three-dimensional sculptures that emerge from the stone with lifelike vitality. Perhaps most significantly, no evidence of habitation exists at Göbekli Tepe. No houses, no hearths, no water sources, no middens of daily waste. This wasn't where people lived, but where they gathered, traveling from across the region for purposes we can only guess. The site represents ritual and communal effort on an unprecedented scale, created by societies that conventional archaeology says shouldn't have possessed such organizational capacity. Traditional narratives insist agriculture enabled permanent settlements, which led to craft specialization, social hierarchies, and eventually monumental architecture. Göbekli Tepe reverses this entire sequence. Pillar 43 in Enclosure D, dubbed the Vulture Stone, contains particularly intriguing imagery that has sparked intense debate. A vulture with outstretched wings dominates the scene, while below appears a headless human figure. Above, various animals and geometric symbols create what some interpret as a star map. Computer analysis by researchers like Martin Sweatman suggests these symbols might represent constellations as they appeared in 10,950 BCE. Possibly commemorating a cosmic event, perhaps the comet impact that triggered the Younger Dryas cold period. The construction sequence reveals deliberate sophistication. Builders first carved the pillars from the limestone bedrock, leaving them attached at the base until carving was complete. Only then did they separate and transport these monoliths, a technique that minimizes breakage risk and suggests experienced planning. Some unfinished pillars remain in the quarries, showing this process frozen in time. The largest unfinished pillar would have stood 7 meters tall and weighed 50 tons, dwarfing any yet erected. Mainstream archaeologists place Göbekli Tepe within the pre-pottery Neolithic A period, viewing it as evidence that social complexity preceded rather than followed agriculture. Hunter-gatherers elsewhere created monuments. Native American earthworks demonstrate this capacity. Construction required no lost technology. Limestone is relatively soft when freshly quarried. Flint tools abundant at the site work effectively, and experimental archaeology shows wooden levers and earthen ramps could enable transport. Seasonal gatherings of regional bands could provide sufficient labor. Alternative interpretations venture deeper into implications. The site's connection to agricultural origins seems more than coincidental. Genetic analysis traces wheat domestication to this immediate region. Did the need to feed workers gathering for monument construction drive agricultural innovation? Or did the builders possess agricultural knowledge from elsewhere, using the site to preserve and transmit crucial survival information following global catastrophe? Most enigmatic remains the deliberate burial around 8000 BCE. The builders didn't simply abandon Göbekli Tepe. They systematically filled the entire complex with debris, hiding but paradoxically preserving it. This massive undertaking required coordinated effort equal to the original construction. Why bury functional temples? Was this preservation for future rediscovery, ritual closure, or protection of sacred knowledge from those unprepared to receive it? Each excavation season reveals new mysteries. The progression from naturalistic to increasingly abstract symbolism through the site's layers might represent degradation of original teachings or evolution of consciousness. Acoustic properties, while unstudied due to partial excavation, likely created specific sound effects. Circular stone arrangements worldwide demonstrate amplification and resonance properties that facilitate altered consciousness states. Göbekli Tepe forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about human development. It demonstrates that the spiritual impulse preceded material security. Before ensuring stable food supplies, hunter-gatherers invested enormous effort creating sacred spaces. The site stands as proof that human history contains forgotten chapters of sophistication, that our development follows cycles of achievement and loss rather than steady progress. In those carved pillars, we glimpse ancestors who were far more than primitive survivors. They were visionaries who built for eternity. As we leave these buried temples where humanity first reached toward the sacred, we descend to wine-dark Aegean waters where bronze gears tell tales of knowledge that shouldn't have existed. In 1901, sponge divers working the azure waters off the Greek island of Antikythera made a discovery that would revolutionize our understanding of ancient technology. Exploring a Roman shipwreck 60 meters below the surface, they recovered treasures of bronze and marble statuary. Among these artifacts lay an unprepossessing lump of corroded metal that would prove more valuable than all the classical art combined. As conservators painstakingly cleaned away 2 millennia of marine encrustation, bronze gears emerged, precision mechanisms that predated similar technology by over 1,000 years. The device, now known as the Antikythera Mechanism, dates to approximately 100 BCE, likely originating from the island of Rhodes, or perhaps Syracuse, both centers of Greek astronomical knowledge. When intact, it formed a wooden box, roughly the size of a shoebox, containing at least 37 meshing bronze gears, though recent analysis suggests the total may have exceeded 50. The largest gear measured 13 centimeters in diameter. The smallest had teeth barely visible to the naked eye, requiring magnification to fully appreciate their precise manufacture. Front and back dials displayed multiple scales, while extensive inscriptions in Koine Greek provided operating instructions and astronomical information. X-ray tomography and surface scanning have revealed the mechanism's breathtaking complexity over decades of study. This wasn't merely a calculator, but a mechanical computer that modeled the cosmos as the Greeks understood it. The device calculated and displayed the positions of the sun and moon, predicted solar and lunar eclipses decades in advance, showed moon phases, and indicated which years would host Olympic and other Pan-Hellenic games. Evidence suggests it also tracked the positions of all 5 planets known to antiquity: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, though these sections remain partially reconstructed. The engineering sophistication astounds modern investigators. Gear teeth follow mathematically optimal curves for smooth power transmission, epicycloidal or involute profiles that weren't formally described until the Renaissance. The mechanism compensates for the Moon's elliptical orbit through an ingenious pin and slot device that varies gear rotation speed, accurately modeling the lunar anomaly. One gear train incorporates the precise 223 tooth count needed to model the Saros eclipse cycle of 18 years and 11 days. Differential gearing, not reinvented in Europe until the 16th century, allowed multiple inputs to drive various outputs simultaneously. Inscriptions on the mechanism reveal sophisticated astronomical knowledge. The zodiac dial includes Egyptian calendar months alongside Greek ones, suggesting synthesis of multiple traditions. Eclipse predictions indicate not just when, but what type of eclipse would occur and whether it would be visible from the Greek world. The Olympic dial tracked not just the 4-year cycle, but which specific games, Olympic, Pythian, Nemean, or Isthmian, occurred in each year. This wasn't merely a scientific instrument, but a social and religious tool integrating natural and human cycles. Mainstream scholars acknowledge the mechanism as authentically ancient Greek technology, possibly connected to the workshop of Archimedes or his successors. Greeks possessed the theoretical knowledge. Hipparchus had discovered precession, Apollonius understood planetary motion, and mechanical texts describe gear trains. The surprise lies not in capability, but in execution, transforming abstract mathematical knowledge into functional precision machinery of such complexity. Similar mechanical sophistication wouldn't reappear in Europe until medieval cathedral clocks a millennium later. Yet, profound questions persist. If Greeks could build this, what other mechanisms existed? The device's sophistication suggests a tradition of precision mechanical engineering largely absent from the historical record. Where are the simpler precursors, the workshop manuals, the other examples? Why did this technology disappear so completely? Some propose the mechanism represents remnants of older knowledge, perhaps preserved from earlier civilizations through mystery schools or craft guilds that maintained technical traditions alongside philosophical ones. Alternative theories explore deeper implications. The astronomical data encoded might derive from centuries or millennia of observations predating Greek science. Certain astronomical cycles require extended observation to discern. The Saros cycle, for instance, or the more complex Exeligmos cycle of 54 years. Could the mechanism preserve knowledge from before written history, transmitted through cultures we've forgotten? Its very existence proves ancient technology exceeded our conventional estimates by orders of magnitude. Recent research reveals additional mysteries. The mechanism used a prime number, 223, of teeth on one gear to achieve accuracy. Was this mathematical sophistication deliberate or fortuitous? Some researchers detect hints of mechanical features that would allow the device to be programmed for different geographical locations by adjusting certain inputs. The quality of manufacture suggests not a prototype, but a mature technology, implying earlier, cruder versions we haven't found. The shipwreck context provides tantalizing clues. The vessel carried luxury goods, suggesting elite passengers. Was the mechanism personal property of a wealthy intellectual, a diplomatic gift, or something else? Its presence among fine art and luxury items confirms it was treasured, not commonplace. Dating of coins aboard narrows the wreck to 70 to 50 BCE, a turbulent period when Roman expansion threatened Greek independence. Was someone trying to preserve this knowledge by transporting it elsewhere? The Antikythera Mechanism embodies lost chapters of human achievement more dramatically than any other artifact. It demonstrates our ancestors possessed capabilities we've only recently rediscovered, or perhaps still haven't matched in elegance of design. Progress isn't always forward. Sometimes we forget more than we learn. In those corroded gears lies proof that ancient minds could conceive and create complexity rivaling our own, reminding us that intelligence and innovation aren't modern monopolies, but human constants stretching back through time. From mechanical precision beneath the waves we soar to Peru's desert canvas, where ancient artists left messages meant for heaven's eyes alone. Across the arid plains of southern Peru, where rainfall barely touches the earth once per decade, spreads one of archaeology's most visible yet enigmatic mysteries. The Nazca Lines, massive geoglyphs etched into the desert surface, create a vast outdoor gallery that reveals its true majesty only from the sky. In this seemingly desolate landscape, ancient peoples created art on a scale that defies comprehension, leaving messages we're still struggling to decode. The scale challenges human perception adapted to ground-level experience. Geometric patterns stretch for kilometers with unwavering precision. Perfect triangles with sides exceeding 300 meters, rectangles that could contain city blocks, spirals that wind with mathematical consistency, and arrow straight lines that cross hills and valleys without deviation. Over 800 straight lines crisscross the desert, some extending more than 30 kilometers, maintaining their bearing despite topographical obstacles. More captivating still are the biomorphic figures, representations of living creatures rendered at enormous scale. A hummingbird with delicate proportions spans 93 meters, its long beak and outstretched wings captured in perfect balance. A spider stretches 47 meters, each leg precisely positioned. A monkey with a spiraling tail covers 110 meters, while a condor spreads its wings across 130 meters of desert. Over 70 plant and animal designs populate this ancient canvas, joined by humanoid figures and abstract shapes whose meaning remains opaque. Together, these creations cover approximately 500 square kilometers of the Nazca Desert. Created between 500 BCE and 500 CE by the Nazca culture, with some possibly earlier and later additions, the lines were formed through a deceptively simple technique. Ancient artists removed the oxidized reddish surface stones to reveal the lighter-colored soil beneath, creating contrast visible from above. The desert's hyper-arid climate, receiving less than 25 millimeters of rain annually, preserved these works perfectly. Wind is minimal, and without water erosion or significant vegetation, the lines remain essentially as created 2 millennia ago. But execution presents profound puzzles. How did ancient peoples achieve such precision without aerial perspective to guide them? The hummingbird's proportions remain perfect despite its vast scale. No distortion mars its form. Lines maintain laser-like straightness over kilometers of undulating terrain. The monkey's spiral tail follows a mathematical curve with precision that would challenge modern surveyors. Traditional suggestions of scaling up from smaller drawings fail to explain the accuracy maintained over such distances. Discovery from aircraft in the 1920s sparked immediate speculation about purpose and meaning. Maria Reiche, the German mathematician who devoted her life to studying and preserving the lines, proposed astronomical purposes, a celestial calendar marking solstices, equinoxes, and the rising points of important stars. Some alignments do correspond with celestial events, particularly the Pleiades constellation, though not with the consistency needed for a purely astronomical interpretation. Other researchers suggest ritual pathways for ceremonial processions, noting pottery fragments and evidence of offerings found along certain lines. Mainstream archaeology interprets the lines within Nazca religious and environmental context. In this desert where water means survival, many lines point toward mountain sources of seasonal rivers or underground aquifers. The animal figures might represent clan totems, star constellations, or deities associated with water and fertility. Construction required no mysterious technology. Simple surveying with ropes and stakes, perhaps guided by smoke signals or torches for alignment, could achieve the observed precision when executed by skilled practitioners. Small-scale models could be expanded using consistent measurement units, yet alternative theories persist with compelling logic. The figure's visibility, only from above, inevitably raises questions. Were they meant to be seen from the sky? By whom or what? Some researchers note that many cultures describe shamanic flight during altered consciousness states. Could the lines map spiritual journeys rather than physical paths? The abstract patterns might encode now-lost meaning systems, perhaps astronomical data, mathematical relationships, or cultural information preserved in geometric form. Recent discoveries deepen the mystery while expanding its scope. Satellite imagery and drone surveys continue revealing previously unknown geoglyphs, some predating the Nazca culture, suggesting multiple construction phases over perhaps 2 millennia. Ground-penetrating radar shows sophisticated underground water management systems, aqueducts, wells, and reservoirs connected to certain lines. This hydraulic engineering reveals the Nazca as more technologically capable than often assumed. Japanese researchers have identified differences in construction techniques between various figures, suggesting different groups or time periods. Some lines appear to have been maintained or refreshed over centuries, indicating lasting cultural significance. Magnetic surveys detect anomalies along certain lines, though their significance remains unclear. Each new technology applied to the site reveals additional complexity rather than simple answers. The question of motivation transcends mere technique. Why invest such enormous effort in creating images fully appreciable only from heights the creators couldn't reach? Conservative estimates suggest some figures required thousands of person-hours to complete. Was this purely religious devotion, or did the lines serve practical purposes we haven't recognized? Some researchers propose the lines functioned as a form of social organization, bringing communities together for construction projects that reinforced cultural identity. Environmental studies suggest the Nazca period experienced increasing aridity, possibly motivating water-focused rituals. Could the lines represent desperate appeals to gods for rain, or maps of underground water sources, or both simultaneously? The interweaving of practical and spiritual purposes characterizes many ancient technologies. The Nazca Lines embody humanity's compulsion to communicate across scales, with gods above, future generations, or aspects of consciousness that transcend ordinary perception. Whether addressing divine forces, encoding cultural knowledge, or expressing artistic vision on a cosmic scale, they demonstrate our ancestors' thought beyond mere survival. They reached for the eternal, creating works that speak across millennia to anyone who rises high enough to perceive their message. From Peru's desert galleries, we turn to crystalline mysteries that gaze back at us with hollow eyes, challenging our assumptions about ancient capabilities and modern certainties alike. In museum vaults and private collections worldwide, objects of haunting beauty and controversial origin captivate viewers with their translucent gaze. Crystal skulls, human skulls carved from single blocks of quartz crystal, occupy a unique position where ancient mystery meets modern deception, where myth intertwines with demonstrable fraud, yet where genuine puzzles persist despite debunking. The most famous example, the Mitchell-Hedges skull, emerged under questionable circumstances. Anna Mitchell-Hedges claimed discovery beneath an altar in a Mayan temple at Lubantun, British Honduras, in 1924, her 17th birthday, adding theatrical flair to the tale. Yet no contemporary documentation supports this dramatic discovery. The skull itself astounds, carved from perfectly clear quartz crystal, anatomically accurate to an uncanny degree, featuring a detachable jaw that articulates naturally. Light channeled through the crystal creates eerie effects, glowing eyes, auroras playing across its surface, prismatic displays that seem almost conscious. Scientific analysis has delivered sobering verdicts on most crystal skulls in major collections. The British Museum skull, arriving mysteriously in 1897 via Tiffany and Company of New York, shows clear rotary tool marks consistent with 19th-century lapidary equipment. The Smithsonian's skull, received through anonymous donation in 1992, similarly reveals modern manufacture. The Paris skull, housed first at the Musée de l'Homme before relocating to the Musée du Quai Branly, bears telltale signs of contemporary creation. Electron microscopy detects straight scratch patterns possible only with modern rotary wheels, not the circular patterns ancient hand polishing would produce. The challenge of working quartz crystal illuminates why these skulls astound regardless of age. Quartz ranks 7th on the Mohs hardness scale. Only diamond, corundum and topaz exceed it, creating smooth curves, hollow spaces like eye sockets, and fine details like teeth would require centuries of patient hand polishing with diamond dust if using pre-Columbian techniques. The crystal's molecular structure makes it prone to shattering along cleavage planes if worked incorrectly. No ancient American examples show evidence of such extended labor. The gradual wear patterns generations of polishing would leave. Yet, certain skulls defy easy categorization, leaving room for mystery despite widespread debunking. A few examples, particularly in private collections away from scientific scrutiny, allegedly show no tool marks whatsoever under electron microscopy, technically impossible with any known technique, ancient or modern. Reports persist of unusual phenomena, skulls maintaining constant temperature regardless of environment, producing sounds without external cause, inducing altered states in sensitive individuals, or displaying optical properties beyond natural crystalline structure. While anecdotal and unverified, the consistency of such reports across cultures suggests something worth investigating rather than dismissing. The proven modern origin of most museum skulls doesn't eliminate all mystery. Why did 19th century artisans create them? Was profit the only motive, or were they attempting to recreate something described in now lost sources? Indigenous oral traditions throughout Mesoamerica describe crystal skulls predating any known forgeries. The Maya spoke of 13 skulls that together would reveal humanity's destiny. The Aztecs described Tezcatlipoca's smoking mirror that revealed truth. Cherokee traditions mention crystal skulls as gifts from the Pleiades. These stories existed before European forgers began producing skulls for the antiquities market. Alternative theories, while lacking evidence, raise intriguing questions. Some researchers suggest modern skulls might be attempts to recreate genuinely ancient artifacts now lost, copies of copies whose originals vanished into private collections or were destroyed. The precision of the finest examples exceeds what profit motive alone would justify. Could some represent channeled information, psychic archaeology, or attempts to manifest legendary objects through craftsmanship? More grounded mysteries involve the skull's optical properties. Quartz crystal exhibits piezoelectric qualities. It generates electrical charge under pressure and vibrates at precise frequencies when electrically stimulated. This property makes quartz essential in modern electronics. Could ancient peoples have recognized and utilized these properties? Some researchers report detecting organized energy fields around certain skulls, though such claims await rigorous verification. Recent technological analysis yields surprises even in proven fakes. The Mitchell-Hedges skull's optical properties appear deliberately engineered. Light entering the skull focuses at specific points, creating effects that seem planned rather than accidental. The skull acts as light pipe and prism simultaneously. Whether ancient or modern, someone understood crystal optics at a sophisticated level. The crystal skull phenomenon reflects our complex relationship with the past. We hunger for evidence of lost civilizations and advanced ancient knowledge, making us vulnerable to hoaxes. Yet that same hunger drives genuine archaeological discovery. The skulls remind us that myth and reality intertwine in ways that simple debunking cannot untangle. Indigenous traditions deserve respect, even when material evidence proves elusive. The modern forgeries themselves become historical artifacts, revealing 19th and 20th century attitudes toward indigenous cultures and ancient mysteries. Perhaps most significantly, the crystal skulls demonstrate how the mysterious persists even after exposure. Despite scientific proof of modern manufacture for most examples, people continue reporting unusual experiences around them. This suggests the power of belief and expectation, or possibly properties of quartz crystal we don't fully understand. The intersection of consciousness and crystalline structure remains largely unexplored by mainstream science. The skulls ultimately pose questions beyond their age or origin. Why does humanity create such objects? What drives us to manifest the legendary in physical form? How do belief and material reality interact? In their hollow gaze, we see reflected not just light, but our own desires to touch the transcendent, to connect with wisdom beyond our current understanding. Whether ancient artifacts or modern creations inspired by timeless archetypes, they succeed in their apparent purpose, making us question what we think we know. From crystalline enigmas, we turn to parchment puzzles, where medieval vellum holds secrets that mock our modern certainty about progress in knowledge and understanding. In the climate-controlled sanctuary of Yale University's Beinecke Rare Book Library lies a manuscript that humbles the greatest minds of linguistics, cryptography, and historical analysis. The Voynich Manuscript, 240 pages of fine vellum covered with flowing script and bizarre illustrations, represents either history's most successful unbroken code or an elaborate hoax that continues to perplex 5 centuries after its creation. Radiocarbon dating of the vellum places its creation between 1404 and 1438 CE, with ink composition matching the period's typical materials. Named after Wilfrid Voynich, the Polish book dealer who purchased it in 1912 from a Jesuit college near Rome, the manuscript's earlier provenance traces a path through some of history's most intriguing figures. Emperor Rudolf II of Bohemia allegedly paid 600 gold ducats for it, a fortune suggesting perceived value. It may have passed through the hands of John Dee, Elizabeth I's mystical advisor, before reaching Athanasius Kircher, the Jesuit polymath who attempted to decipher Egyptian hieroglyphs. The manuscript divides into 6 sections based on illustrations, each more puzzling than the last. The botanical section depicts 113 detailed plant drawings, yet botanists cannot definitively identify a single species. Some appear chimeric, roots of one plant type, leaves suggesting another, flowers that exist nowhere in nature. Are these encoded pharmaceutical recipes, symbolic representations, or plants from an isolated region unknown to modern botany? The astronomical section shows recognizable zodiac symbols, but with unfamiliar star patterns and celestial diagrams following no known astronomical tradition. Most bizarre, the biological section features human figures, predominantly female, bathing in green pools connected by elaborate networks of tubes that wind through organ-like structures. The script itself flows naturally from left to right with the fluid consistency of practiced writing, not the hesitation of random symbols or constructed gibberish. Statistical analysis reveals patterns remarkably similar to natural languages. Character frequency distributions follow Zipf's law, word lengths cluster around predictable averages, and repetition patterns match those found in known texts. The alphabet comprises approximately 20 to 30 distinct symbols, similar to many writing systems, combining into an estimated 35,000 to 40,000 total words throughout the manuscript. Yet the script remains absolutely unique, matching no known alphabet or symbolic system. Professional code breakers representing centuries of expertise have assaulted the manuscript's secrets without success. William Friedman, who broke Japan's Purple Code during World War II, spent decades on the Voynich, concluding it might represent a synthetic language rather than a cipher. The NSA reportedly devoted resources during the Cold War, viewing it as practice for Soviet codes. Modern computer analysis using AI pattern recognition and statistical attacks has yielded no breakthrough. If it's a cipher, it employs techniques unknown to cryptographic history, or it's not a cipher at all. Recent analytical approaches explore fascinating possibilities. Some linguists propose the text represents a natural language from an isolated community, possibly in Eastern Europe or Central Asia, written in an invented script. The structure suggests agglutinative properties similar to Turkish or Finnish, Others see glossolalia, speaking in tongues, captured in written form, the ecstatic utterances of religious experience given permanent form. Pharmaceutical historians note similarities between the manuscript's organization and medieval herbals, suggesting medical knowledge encoded to protect trade secrets. Alternative theories venture into more speculative realms. Some researchers detect similarities to purported angelic languages described by medieval mystics like Hildegard of Bingen. The biological sections, flowing tubes, and bathing figures suggest alchemical or consciousness-related practices, possibly describing inner energy systems or meditative visualizations. Could the manuscript function not as conventional communication, but as a transformation tool requiring altered consciousness to comprehend? Some claim successful partial translations during dreams or meditative states, though none prove reproducible. The manuscript's physical properties add layers of mystery. The vellum quality exceeds typical medieval productions, suggesting wealthy patronage. Multiple hands appear to have contributed to the writing, indicating a scribal tradition rather than a single author's work. Chemical analysis of the ink reveals careful preparation with consistent recipes throughout, not the variations expected from a long-term project. This suggests either rapid creation or access to standardized materials unusual for the period. Recent multispectral imaging revealed previously invisible details, faint sketches beneath paintings, margin notes in different ink, possibly later editions attempting translation. Some pages show evidence of careful erasure and rewriting. Carbon dating of the binding indicates later assembly, suggesting the manuscript may combine older elements. These physical clues hint at a complex creation history involving multiple contributors across time. Psychological analysis of hoax theories yields interesting results. Creating 240 pages of consistent nonsense would require extraordinary dedication to no clear purpose. Medieval hoaxes typically had obvious motives, financial gain, or religious manipulation. The Voynich offers neither. Its creation required expensive materials, considerable time, and expertise in multiple fields. If meaningless, why such elaborate effort? Even as an artistic endeavor or encyclopedia of the imaginary, it exceeds any known medieval parallel. The Voynich manuscript ultimately mirrors the human condition itself, surrounded by patterns we recognize but cannot interpret, meaning dancing just beyond comprehension. It might encode lost medical knowledge, describe spiritual practices from a vanished tradition, or map territories of consciousness we've forgotten how to navigate. Or it might be the medieval equivalent of outsider art, a unique mind's attempt to capture visions beyond conventional expression. Its true significance may lie not in eventual translation, but in what it represents. Proof that past humans created knowledge systems entirely foreign to our own, that not all human thought flows through channels we recognize. In an age of digital surveillance and vanishing privacy, the Voynich stands as monument to the possibility of permanent secrets, of knowledge that refuses to yield to any assault. It whispers that mystery itself might be a form of meaning, that some truths transcend language, existing in the spaces between understanding and wonder. Leaving behind the Voynich's impenetrable script, we journey to England's ancient plains, where giants of stone have marked the turning of celestial wheels for 5,000 years. On Salisbury Plain, where mists roll across grasslands unchanged since the Neolithic, stands Britain's most enigmatic monument. Stonehenge, the hanging stones in Saxon, has drawn pilgrims, puzzled scholars, and inspired reverence through 5 millennia of continuous human awareness. More than mere ancient architecture, it represents humanity's primordial impulse to mark sacred space and cosmic time through monumental effort. Construction spanned an astonishing 15 centuries through distinct cultural phases, each adding layers of meaning and mystery. Around 3100 BCE, Neolithic peoples excavated a circular ditch and bank 110 meters in diameter using antler picks and shoulder blade shovels to move 75,000 cubic meters of chalk. Within this henge, they dug 56 holes around the perimeter, the Aubrey Holes, named for their 17th century discoverer. These held timber posts or perhaps bluestones, creating a wooden monument we can barely imagine. The iconic stone circles arrived in waves. Around 2600 BCE, builders transported bluestones from Wales's Preseli Hills, a straight-line distance of 240 kilometers, but likely twice that following practical routes. These dolerite and rhyolite stones, weighing up to 4 tons each, possess unusual acoustic properties, ringing like bells when struck. Were they chosen for their sound? Around 2500 BCE came the massive sarsen stones, hauled 30 kilometers from West Woods near Marlborough, a source only confirmed in 2020 through geochemical analysis. The largest sarsens weigh over 50 tons, yet were shaped, raised, and topped with horizontal lintels locked in place with mortise and tenon joints, sophisticated as any woodworking. The logistics stagger modern imagination accustomed to mechanical advantage. Moving 50-ton stones across rolling countryside required hundreds of people working in coordination. Experimental archaeology suggests various methods: wooden sledges on tallow-greased rails, stone balls as bearings, even mounting stones in cradles of timber. Raising them required enormous timber cribs or earthen ramps subsequently removed. The precision achieved. Trilithons, standing for 4,500 years through earthquakes and storms, speaks to engineering mastery. But Stonehenge transcends mere technical achievement. Its astronomical alignments reveal sophisticated observational knowledge encoded in stone. The heel stone frames sunrise on summer solstice, though more precisely 4,000 years ago when obliquity differed slightly. Station stones mark lunar extremes through the complex 18.6-year cycle. The entire monument functions as a massive celestial computer capable of predicting eclipses and tracking multiple astronomical phenomena simultaneously. This required not just observation, but mathematical understanding to recognize patterns spanning generations. Archaeological evidence reveals Stonehenge's multiple functions across millennia. Cremated remains in and around Aubrey Holes indicate early use as an elite cemetery. Isotope analysis reveals some dead travelled from Wales, suggesting Stonehenge served scattered communities. The monument's acoustic properties create unique sound effects. The stones amplify and focus sound, creating regions where whispers carry clearly while shouts vanish. Recent experiments show the complete stone circle would have dramatically enhanced ritual music and speech. The surrounding landscape proves equally significant. The Stonehenge Hidden Landscapes project revealed a ritual landscape. Timber circles at Durrington Walls, possibly housing celebrants. The mysterious cursus running 3 kilometers, numerous barrows marking elite burials. At Durrington Walls, evidence of massive feasts, 80,000 animal bones, suggests gatherings drawing people from across Britain. Isotope analysis of pig teeth shows animals raised in Scotland carried hundreds of miles for slaughter. Stonehenge anchored a sacred landscape active for over 100 generations. Traditional archaeology emphasizes Stonehenge's evolution through different cultures: Windmill Hill peoples, Beaker culture, Wessex chiefs, each adding elements reflecting contemporary beliefs. The monument represents accumulated sacred space, not a single vision. Yet profound questions multiply. Why invest such staggering effort in precise astronomical alignment? Electromagnetic anomalies detected at the site suggest the location possesses natural properties ancient peoples recognized. Some stones test positive for unusual radiation signatures. Underground springs create localized magnetic variations. Did builders consciously enhance natural phenomena? Alternative researchers propose deeper purposes transcending conventional ritual. Acoustic engineer Rupert Till demonstrates the stones create sophisticated sound effects possibly used for consciousness alteration. The monument's geometry incorporates advanced mathematical relationships. The station stone rectangle's proportions encode the site's latitude. Impossible coincidence suggesting advanced surveying knowledge. Some propose Stonehenge formed part of a global network of sites, encoding lost wisdom, mathematical, astronomical, perhaps technological. Recent discoveries transform understanding while deepening mystery. Cremated remains from the earliest phases show evidence of malachite, available only in Wales or Western Britain, suggesting the dead were transformed by fire elsewhere and transported for burial. This implies Stonehenge's significance predated the stone monument. Excavations at Blue Stonehenge revealed a second stone circle where the avenue meets the River Avon, subsequently dismantled. Each finding reinforces that we've glimpsed only fragments of Neolithic achievement. Perhaps most profound is Stonehenge's demonstration of long-term thinking extinct in our era. The builders worked across 1,500 years, 60 generations, toward a vision transcending individual lives. They thought in centuries, planned for millennia, built for eternity. Modern projects rarely extend beyond electoral cycles. Stonehenge proves humans can sustain multi-generational projects of staggering complexity when united by shared purpose. Standing within the circle as countless others have across 5 millennia, visitors report consistent experiences, a sense of time dissolving, awareness of cosmic cycles, connection to purposes beyond the personal. Whether through acoustic properties, electromagnetic effects, or psychological impact of sacred space refined across centuries, Stonehenge still functions. It reminds us we're part of cycles extending beyond human time, that our ancestors reached toward the eternal through communal effort and succeeded in ways we struggle to comprehend. From Britain's temple to time, we journey to Lebanon's mountains, where stones so massive they mock our modern capabilities form foundations that predate all known civilizations. In Lebanon's Bekaa Valley, where ancient trade routes once connected Mediterranean civilizations with the mysteries of the East, rises the most impressive collection of worked stone blocks ever quarried by human hands. Beneath the graceful Roman temples of Jupiter, Bacchus, and Venus, architectural marvels in their own right, lies a platform of such massive stones that their very existence challenges our understanding of ancient capabilities. The Romans called this place Heliopolis, City of the Sun, building magnificent temples that drew pilgrims from across their empire. But the Romans built atop foundations they didn't create. Beneath their classical architecture lies the true enigma, the trilithon, 3 limestone blocks that defy comprehension. Each measures approximately 19.6 meters long, 4.3 meters high, and 3.6 meters wide. Conservative weight estimates place them at 750 to 800 tons each, though some calculations suggest closer to 900 tons. They fit together so precisely that 2 millennia of earthquakes haven't opened gaps wide enough to admit a knife blade. More staggering still are the stones that never reached their destination. In the nearby quarry, 800 meters from the temple complex, lie the true giants. The stone of the pregnant woman, Hajar el-Hibla, weighs approximately 1,000 tons. Discovered in 2014, an even larger block weighs an estimated 1,650 tons, the heaviest work stone ever found. A third monster, discovered in the 1990s, weighs 1,200 tons. These behemoths were shaped, prepared for transport, then mysteriously abandoned, as if their creators suddenly vanished or realized the impossibility of their ambition. Roman engineering capabilities, while remarkable, peaked around 50-ton blocks for column drums and obelisks. The trilithon stones exceed Roman maximums by a factor of 15. No Roman texts claim credit for moving such masses. No Roman technology could have achieved it. Local traditions consistently attribute the platform to far earlier times. Some invoke Solomon's djinn, others speak of giants from the pre-flood world. The Roman historian Macrobius noted the platform's antiquity, describing it as sacred from time immemorial. Modern engineering analysis illuminates the challenge's magnitude. Moving 800-ton blocks requires forces exceeding practical limits of pre-industrial technology. The 800-meter route between quarry and temple includes rough terrain and elevation changes. Contemporary engineers calculate that even with modern equipment, hydraulic jacks, steel cables, reinforced concrete roads, moving such masses would challenge current capabilities. The precision fitting, achieving tolerances of millimeters with blocks weighing as much as 150 elephants, transcends mere logistics. Mainstream archaeology proposes various scenarios. Perhaps the Romans or pre-Roman peoples like the Phoenicians used massive manpower, tens of thousands of workers with ropes, rollers, and earthen ramps. Yet no evidence of such infrastructure exists. The precision fitting suggests capabilities beyond brute force. Some propose now-lost techniques, specialized leverage systems, temporary chemical softening of limestone, or engineering principles we haven't recognized. Each explanation struggles with the sheer scale involved. Alternative theories explore possibilities mainstream archaeology dismisses. Acoustic levitation using sound frequencies appears in multiple ancient traditions. Several researchers have achieved small-scale acoustic levitation in laboratories. Could ancient peoples have scaled this up? Others propose electromagnetic effects, noting that the Bekaa Valley sits atop significant geological fault lines where piezoelectric effects from tectonic stress might be harnessed. Some suggest the stones were cast in place using advanced concrete technology, though geological analysis confirms they're quarried limestone. The platform's purpose deepens the mystery. Why create foundations requiring such superhuman effort? The Romans built impressive temples atop them, but the platform far exceeds structural requirements. Some researchers note astronomical alignments, suggesting the platform predates the temples by millennia. Underground chambers detected through ground-penetrating radar remain unexplored, blocked by the massive stones above. Local traditions speak of underground passages connecting to distant locations. Recent archaeological work reveals distinct construction phases. The megalithic blocks show different weathering patterns than Roman work above, suggesting extreme age, possibly predating known civilization by millennia. Tool marks on some surfaces don't match known ancient techniques. Microscopic analysis reveals unusual crystalline changes in the limestone near joints, as if subjected to intense localized energy. Each investigation deepens rather than resolves the mystery. Historical accounts add intriguing details. Arab historians describe Baalbek as Earth's oldest building, constructed by Cain or the giants. The Phoenicians considered it sacred to Baal, their sun god, long before Roman occupation. Alexander the Great consulted oracles there. The site's sanctity transcends cultures and millennia, suggesting significance beyond mere religious architecture. The implications challenge archaeological orthodoxy at its foundation. If ancient peoples could move 800-ton blocks with precision, what else were they capable of? Either our ancestors possessed technologies we've lost, or human history contains chapters of achievement we haven't begun to read. The stones themselves offer mute testimony, massive, precisely placed, impossibly real. Perhaps most unsettling is what the abandoned quarry stones suggest. Here were people confident they could move 1,650-ton blocks, who shaped and prepared them for transport, then stopped. Did they realize the impossibility? Did their civilization collapse? Or did they succeed in moving similar blocks, now incorporated into structures we haven't recognized? The quarry preservation seems almost deliberate, as if leaving evidence for future generations. Baalbek's megaliths represent the ultimate archaeological anomaly. They exist, massive, undeniable, measurable. Yet they shouldn't exist given our understanding of ancient capabilities. They force a choice: either radically revise our assumptions about ancient technology or accept that mysteries can endure despite our certainty. In their silent mass lies a challenge to every neat timeline of human development, a reminder that the past holds secrets that mock our modern hubris. From impossible stones, we turn to impossible power, preserved in a simple clay jar that suggests ancient knowledge of electricity 2,000 years before its discovery. In 1938, in the dusty basement storage of the Iraq National Museum, German archaeologist Wilhelm König made a discovery that would send ripples through our understanding of ancient technology. Among routine pottery, finds from a Parthian settlement near Baghdad, he noticed something extraordinary. A small terracotta jar that appeared to be constructed as an electrical battery, created 2 millennia before Alessandro Volta's invention in 1800. The artifact, dating from the Parthian period, 250 BCE to 224 CE, measures just 13 centimeters tall with a narrow 3.3 centimeter opening. Its construction reveals sophisticated understanding. Inside, A sheet of copper rolled into a cylinder housed an iron rod, with both metals carefully separated by asphalt plugs at the base. This arrangement precisely mimics a galvanic cell, two metals of different electrical potential separated by an insulator, requiring only an electrolyte to generate current. The asphalt seal at the top would have held the electrolyte while preventing evaporation. Multiple similar artifacts have emerged from Kujut Rabua near Baghdad and from the Parthian capital of Ctesiphon. Their distribution across multiple sites suggests widespread use rather than an isolated curiosity. Dating consistently places them within the Parthian period, a time when this Persian dynasty controlled much of modern Iraq and Iran. Yet no Parthian texts mention electricity, batteries, or any application requiring electrical current. This silence puzzles researchers as much as the artifacts themselves. Experimental replications have definitively proven electrical generation. Using grape juice, vinegar, or wine as electrolytes, modern reconstructions produce between 0.5 and 2 volts, sufficient for electroplating small objects. When connected in series, multiple cells could generate higher voltages. Most intriguingly, tests show these ancient batteries produce remarkably stable current, suggesting their creators understood optimal metal ratios and electrolyte concentrations through trial and refinement. The electroplating hypothesis gains support from archaeological evidence. Numerous Mesopotamian artifacts display incredibly thin, even gold plating that's difficult to achieve through traditional fire gilding methods. Fire gilding leaves thicker, less uniform coatings and requires heating that can damage delicate objects. Electroplating produces precisely the kind of thin, uniform coating seen on many ancient artifacts. Silver-plated copper objects from the period show plating so thin it suggests electrical deposition. Mainstream archaeology remains cautiously skeptical, proposing alternative functions. Some suggest the jars stored sacred scrolls, with the metal components serving no electrical purpose. Others propose medical applications. The mild shock might have seemed magical for pain relief, creating powerful placebo effects. The absence of connecting wires, instructions, or clear applications supports non-electrical interpretations. Yet each alternative struggles to explain the specific construction that so precisely mimics battery design. Ancient texts offer tantalizing hints that gain new meaning in light of the Baghdad Battery. Numerous cultures describe divine powers remarkably similar to electrical phenomena. Gods wielded lightning, healed through touch, and created light without fire. The Dendera reliefs in Egypt depict bulb-like objects some interpret as electrical devices. Sanskrit texts describe mechanisms producing effects consistent with electrical applications. Persian Zoroastrian texts speak of divine fire that could be captured and contained. Were these mythological metaphors or descriptions of actual phenomena? Alternative researchers propose the Baghdad Battery represents preserved technical knowledge from earlier civilizations. The Parthians inherited vast territories containing ancient centers of learning: Babylon, Persepolis, Susa. Perhaps secret societies or craft guilds maintained limited applications of electrical knowledge discovered centuries or millennia earlier. The concentration of finds near ancient libraries and temples supports knowledge preservation theories. Some suggest medical applications beyond placebo, controlled electrical stimulation for pain relief or tissue healing, practices independently rediscovered in modern times. Recent archaeological findings add complexity. Analysis of the copper cylinders reveals unusual purity levels, suggesting sophisticated refinement techniques. The iron rods show evidence of specific alloys that maximize electrical potential difference with copper. This metallurgical sophistication implies systematic experimentation rather than accidental discovery. Some batteries show wear patterns consistent with repeated use and maintenance. The implications extend far beyond electrical generation. If ancient peoples created batteries, what other technologies existed? The Baghdad Battery challenges linear progression models where each discovery builds on previous knowledge. Instead, it suggests human advancement follows cycles, discoveries made, lost, and rediscovered across millennia. Ancient peoples might have possessed specialized knowledge in narrow domains without developing broader electrical theory. Perhaps most intriguing is what the batteries reveal about ancient empiricism. Without understanding atomic theory or electron flow, ancient craftsmen discovered and refined electrical generation through pure experimentation. They recognized useful phenomena and developed practical applications without theoretical frameworks. This empirical approach mirrors traditional medicine, where effective treatments preceded understanding of biological mechanisms by centuries. Modern analysis reveals additional mysteries. Some batteries contain residues suggesting exotic electrolytes beyond simple wine or vinegar, possibly including plant extracts or mineral solutions that enhanced output. The specific dimensions appear standardized across examples, suggesting manufacturing specifications passed down through generations. Tool marks indicate mass production rather than individual crafting. The Baghdad Battery ultimately embodies questions about knowledge transmission and loss. How many discoveries vanished when civilizations fell? What technologies existed in isolation, never developing into broader applications? The battery might represent one surviving example of countless innovations lost to time, preserved by accident in pottery storage while its purpose faded from memory. Whether functional battery or ritual object coincidentally resembling electrical design, the Baghdad Battery forces us to reconsider ancient capabilities. It stands as material evidence that the past holds surprises, that ancient peoples achieved things we're only beginning to recognize. In its simple clay form lies a challenge to our assumptions about technological progress and a reminder that innovation has always been part of the human story, even when its traces barely survive. From ancient electricity, we ascend to Peru's impossible walls, where stone fitting exceeds modern capabilities and whispers of lost techniques for shaping the very bones of mountains. Above the ancient Inca capital of Cusco, where the air grows thin at 3,700 meters elevation, terraced walls zigzag across the hillside in a display of stonework that humbles master masons and confounds engineers. Sacsayhuamán, meaning satisfied falcon in Quechua, presents not merely impressive architecture, but impossible architecture, walls that shouldn't exist given our understanding of ancient construction techniques. The fortress complex extends approximately 540 meters along its longest wall, comprising 3 parallel terraced walls that rise like frozen waves of stone. Some sections reach 9 meters in height, built from limestone blocks that range from impressive to incomprehensible. While many stones weigh 90 to 130 tons, the largest identified block tips the scales at 361 tons. the weight of 70 adult elephants. Yet size alone fails to capture the true mystery embodied in these walls. Each stone presents a unique puzzle of angles and curves, some featuring 12 or more precisely cut faces that interlock with neighboring blocks in 3 dimensions. No mortar binds them. Precision alone maintains structural integrity through earthquakes that have toppled Spanish colonial buildings while leaving Sacsayhuamán unscathed. The joints between stones achieve tolerances measurable in fractions of millimeters. Paper cannot slip between blocks. In many places, the stones meet so perfectly they appear to merge, as if the entire wall were carved from a single, impossible boulder. Spanish conquistadors arriving in 1533 immediately questioned how the Inca created such works without iron tools, wheels, or draft animals. Even then, Inca informants provided conflicting accounts. Some claimed inheritance from earlier peoples, the ancient Quilchi culture, or perhaps someone older still. Others spoke of techniques passed down through generations of master builders. Most intriguingly, persistent legends describe plant extracts that could temporarily soften stone, allowing it to be shaped like clay before hardening. Modern science has found no evidence for such substances, yet the legends persist across the Andes. Conventional archaeology attributes construction to Inca Emperor Pachacuti around 1440 CE, proposing realistic, if laborious, methods. Bronze and stone tools could shape limestone given sufficient time. Wooden rollers, earth ramps, and rope could transport blocks. Patient grinding with sand could achieve precision fits. Modern experiments demonstrate these techniques can work, slowly. Yet they fail to explain certain anomalies that become more puzzling with closer examination. The surfaces of many stones at Sacsayhuamán display unusual characteristics. Some appear vitrified, as if subjected to intense heat that partially melted the surface. Others show scoop marks, suggesting material was removed in ways inconsistent with chipping or grinding. The precision of the joints implies not just careful fitting, but potentially simultaneous shaping of multiple blocks to achieve perfect matches. Some researchers report detecting magnetic anomalies in certain stones and unusual acoustic properties when struck. Alternative theories venture into territories mainstream archaeology dismisses. Local traditions speak consistently of acoustic techniques, using sound to levitate or soften stone. While seemingly fantastic, acoustic levitation exists in modern laboratories, though at scales far smaller than these massive blocks. Some researchers propose lost chemical knowledge, perhaps acids or plant extracts that could temporarily alter limestone's crystalline structure. Others suggest energy techniques we haven't rediscovered, ways of working with stone that transcend mere mechanical force. Recent discoveries deepen the mystery. Ground-penetrating radar reveals extensive tunnel systems beneath Sacsayhuamán, their purpose unknown and exploration forbidden for safety reasons. Carbon dating of organic material found in joints suggests multiple construction phases spanning far longer than previously thought, perhaps millennia rather than decades. Some sections appear to incorporate much older foundations, raising questions about whether the Inca built upon works of forgotten predecessors. The site's ceremonial significance adds layers of meaning. Sacsayhuamán continues to host Inti Raymi, the festival of the sun, drawing thousands who celebrate the winter solstice. The fortress aligns with astronomical phenomena and sacred landscape features across the Cusco Valley. Its zigzag walls might represent lightning, symbol of divine power, or the teeth of a puma, with Cusco forming the body. This integration of architecture, astronomy, and landscape suggests knowledge systems we only partially understand. Perhaps most revealing are the unfinished sections scattered around the site. These show stones in various stages of preparation, offering clues to construction methods. Yet, even these raise questions. Some appear to have been shaped in place, rather than pre-cut and moved. Others display tool marks, unlike anything produced by known Inca implements. The evidence suggests techniques varying dramatically from conventional archaeological models. International teams using advanced technology continue discovering anomalies. Ultrasound scanning reveals internal structures within some blocks, possibly natural inclusions or evidence of unknown construction techniques. Chemical analysis of the joints shows traces of organic compounds that don't match any known binding agents. Thermal imaging suggests some stones retain and release heat differently than others, hinting at compositional differences invisible to the eye. The implications challenge fundamental assumptions about ancient capabilities. If the Inca or their predecessors could shape multi-ton blocks with millimeter precision and move them across mountainous terrain, what other achievements have we failed to recognize? The walls stand as irrefutable evidence that ancient peoples possessed knowledge or techniques we've lost. Whether through forgotten chemistry, undiscovered physics, or sheer mastery of known techniques pushed beyond what we thought possible, Sacsayhuamán achieved something modern technology struggles to replicate. Standing before these walls, touching stones fitted so perfectly they seem welded, visitors consistently report the same sensation, awe mixed with humility. Here is proof that the past holds secrets still, that ancient peoples achieved things that mock our modern pride. The stones whisper of capabilities beyond our current understanding, inviting us to expand our conception of what humans can achieve when knowledge, will, and perhaps forgotten wisdom combine. From Andean heights where stone flows like water, we descend to Pakistan's ancient plains, where a city's mysterious death speaks of weapons that orthodox history says couldn't exist. In Pakistan's Sindh province, where the Indus River once nurtured one of humanity's earliest civilizations, the ruins of Mohenjo-daro sprawl across 250 hectares of now desolate terrain. Mound of the Dead in Sindhi. This Bronze Age metropolis thrived 4,500 years ago before meeting an end that continues to perplex archaeologists and inspire controversial theories about ancient catastrophes. The city itself represents an achievement that would impress modern urban planners. Streets, laid out in perfect grids, created rectangular blocks with remarkable consistency. The world's first known urban sanitation system featured covered drains running beneath streets, connected to nearly every house through terracotta pipes. Multi-story buildings constructed with standardized fired bricks included indoor plumbing, bathrooms with waterproof floors tilted for drainage. The Great Bath, a watertight pool measuring 12 meters long, 7 meters wide, and 2.4 meters deep, showcased hydraulic engineering using fitted bricks sealed with natural tar. Around 1900 BCE, this thriving civilization abruptly ended. Excavations beginning in the 1920s revealed disturbing evidence. Skeletons lay scattered in streets and homes, some in positions suggesting sudden death. Unlike typical archaeological sites, these bodies showed no signs of formal burial. They lay where they fell, preserved by the dry climate. Initial reports described groups of skeletons holding hands, families apparently dying together, though later analysis showed these were separate deaths over time rather than simultaneous catastrophe. In 1979, British researcher David Davenport published claims that sent shockwaves through alternative history circles. He reported finding evidence of extreme heat exposure, vitrified pottery, bricks fused into glass, and skeletons showing signs of sudden heating. Most dramatically, he claimed to detect radiation levels 50% above normal background. His book, Atomic Destruction in 2000 BC, proposed that Mohenjo-daro suffered nuclear attack, linking physical evidence to descriptions in ancient Sanskrit texts of weapons resembling atomic bombs. Mainstream archaeology has thoroughly investigated and largely discredited these sensational claims. Careful re-examination found no abnormal radiation when properly measured with calibrated equipment. The vitrified bricks showed normal firing techniques used in kilns reaching 1000 degrees Celsius. Impressive, but not mysterious. The scattered skeletons, when properly dated, died over extended periods rather than simultaneously. Most showed signs of disease or violence typical of urban decline, not exotic weapons. The true mystery of Mohenjo-daro lies not in fantasies of ancient atomic war, but in understanding how such an advanced civilization could disappear so completely. Climate data indicates severe drought beginning around 2000 BCE, affecting the entire Indus Valley civilization. The Sarasvati River, whose channels are now dry, may have shifted course, devastating agriculture. Simultaneously, monsoon patterns changed, reducing crucial rainfall. These environmental catastrophes could trigger social collapse, disease, and conflict. Recent archaeological work reveals a complex picture of gradual decline rather than sudden destruction. The city shows evidence of reduced maintenance in its final phases: drains clogged, buildings subdivided, craftsmanship declining. Trade networks that once reached Mesopotamia contracted. The distinctive Indus script disappears from the archaeological record. This pattern suggests systemic civilizational collapse rather than military destruction. Yet certain anomalies deserve consideration without invoking nuclear weapons. Some skeletons do show unusual preservation. Certain areas of the city contain higher concentrations of fused materials than typical firing would produce. Traditional kilns don't explain all vitrification patterns. These puzzles likely have natural explanations, perhaps ritual cremation practices, industrial accidents, or localized fires during the city's chaotic final period. The persistent appeal of catastrophic theories reflects how Mohenjo-daro challenges our assumptions about ancient life. Here was a civilization as sophisticated as contemporary Egypt or Mesopotamia, yet it vanished, leaving no decipherable written records, no clear historical memory, no successor culture. The Indus Valley civilization's script remains undecoded, leaving their own explanations forever silent. This void invites speculation to fill the absence of facts. Sanskrit texts like the Mahabharata do describe powerful weapons and devastating wars, leading some to seek connections with Mohenjo-daro. However, these texts are mythological literature, not historical chronicles. Their divine weapons parallel Zeus's thunderbolts or Thor's hammer, supernatural powers expressed through contemporary understanding. Reading them as technical descriptions of nuclear weapons reflects modern preoccupations, not ancient realities. The real lessons of Mohenjo-daro prove more sobering than fantasies of ancient superweapons. A civilization that pioneered urban planning, created sophisticated drainage systems, and maintained trade networks across thousands of kilometers proved vulnerable to environmental change. Their G-L achievements couldn't prevent collapse when climate shifted. No evidence suggests they possessed weapons beyond those of other Bronze Age cultures. Bronze tools, simple bows, perhaps catapults. Modern analysis using ground-penetrating radar and satellite imagery reveals the Indus Valley civilization's true extent, over 1,000 sites spread across 1 million square kilometers. This wasn't a single city's destruction, but an entire civilization's dissolution. Each site tells a similar story of gradual abandonment rather than violent end. People migrated, urban centers emptied, complex society simplified into village life. Mohenjo-daro's mystery isn't how it was destroyed, but why such an advanced civilization left so few traces in human memory. Unlike Egypt's pyramids or Mesopotamia's tablets, the Indus Valley civilization vanished almost without echo. Their undeciphered script mocks our attempts at understanding. Their cities stand mute, revealing technological sophistication while concealing cultural meaning. Perhaps this silence carries the deepest message. Civilizations can achieve greatness and vanish so completely that even their names are lost. What we mistake for permanence, our cities, our technologies, our ways of life, may prove as ephemeral as Mohenjo-daro's carefully planned streets, now home only to desert wind and archaeological speculation. From the silent ruins of the Indus Valley, we plunge beneath Pacific waves where stone monuments challenge our understanding of geology and human prehistory alike. Off Japan's westernmost inhabited island, where the East China Sea meets the Pacific Ocean, lies one of underwater archaeology's most contentious discoveries. In 1986, dive instructor Kihachiro Aratake, searching for hammerhead shark viewing sites, encountered something that would ignite decades of fierce debate: massive stone formations, 25 meters beneath crystal-clear waters that appeared unmistakably artificial to his eyes. The Yonaguni Monument, as it became known, spans an area comparable to a city block. Its most striking feature is a central structure rising from seabed to within 5 meters of the surface, resembling a stepped pyramid or massive altar. Flat terraces stretch for dozens of meters, their surfaces smooth as dance floors. Straight edges run true for lengths that seem to mock natural explanation. Steps with uniform 1-meter rises ascend the structure's sides. 2 pillars frame what appears to be an entrance, while nearby formations suggest roads, stairs, and ceremonial platforms. Marine geologist Masaki Kimura from the University of the Ryukyus devoted decades to studying the site, documenting features he insists prove human modification. Beyond the obvious terraces and steps, he identified tool marks on certain surfaces, triangular pools apparently carved into bedrock, and what he interprets as drainage channels. Most controversially, he claims to have found carved symbols resembling ancient scripts and a massive face carved into an underwater cliff, features nature doesn't create. The temporal context adds profound implications. Sea level data indicates this area was last above water between 8,000 and 10,000 years ago. during the last ice age when ocean levels dropped over 100 meters. If artificial, the monument predates all known civilizations, rewriting human prehistory. This timing coincides remarkably with the end of the Younger Dryas, the legendary flood dates in numerous cultures, and the period when Göbekli Tepe was being constructed half a world away. Skeptics, led by Boston University's Robert Schoch, ironically famous for his own controversial redating of the Sphinx, argue for entirely natural formation. The local sandstone exhibits natural jointing patterns that create rectangular blocks when subjected to tectonic forces. Ocean currents could erode softer layers, leaving harder stone as apparent platforms. Similar formations exist above water on Yonaguni, demonstrating that nature can create seemingly artificial structures. They dismiss apparent tool marks as natural scratches and the carved face as pareidolia, seeing patterns where none exist. Yet the debate resists simple resolution. The monument's features align with cardinal directions and astronomical phenomena in ways that seem deliberate. The main terrace faces due south. Certain angles match sunrise positions at solstices. While natural forces can create remarkable regularities, the combination of features at Yonaguni strains coincidence. Professional geologists remain divided, unusual for a purely geological question. Japanese researchers have documented intriguing cultural connections. Local legends speak of underwater palaces and lost kingdoms beneath the waves. The Karama creation myth describes lands that sank beneath the sea. While such stories exist worldwide and might reflect universal flood memories rather than specific locations, their prevalence in Okinawan culture predates the monument's discovery. Some tales even specify locations that correspond to underwater structures. Recent technological investigations yield ambiguous results. Side-scan sonar reveals additional structures extending beyond the main monument, apparent roads, walls, and platforms covering several square kilometers. These could represent an extensive complex or natural geology following similar patterns. High-resolution photogrammetry shows the precision of edges and angles exceeds typical natural fracturing, though doesn't definitively prove artificial origin. The monument's most enigmatic feature might be its apparent functionality. Natural terraces rarely create such useful spaces. The structures seem designed for human activities, gatherings, ceremonies, observations. Stone circles on the main platform could have held wooden posts. The triangular pools would collect rainwater. Channels appear to direct drainage. If natural, the monument coincidentally created remarkably practical architecture. Alternative theories bridge the natural-artificial divide. Perhaps ancient humans recognized and modified naturally occurring formations, enhancing existing terraces and sharpening edges for ritual purposes. This would explain both the geological substrate and apparent tool marks. Many sacred sites worldwide represent human modification of naturally significant locations. Yonaguni might exemplify this practice taken to monumental scale. Comparative analysis with other sites raises intriguing parallels. The monument's stepped structure resembles ziggurats, though predating them by millennia if artificial. Certain proportions match those found in ancient architecture worldwide, suggesting either universal human preferences or shared ancient knowledge. The possible face carving, while controversial, parallels faces carved into cliffs at other prehistoric sites globally. The implications of either conclusion prove significant. If natural, Yonaguni demonstrates that geological processes can create structures so regular they fool expert observers, cautioning against hasty identification of artificial structures elsewhere. If artificial or modified, it proves humans created monumental architecture thousands of years before conventional history allows, possibly preserving evidence of Ice Age civilizations lost to rising seas. Perhaps most frustrating, definitive investigation remains limited. Japan restricts excavation at the site, preventing archaeological techniques that might resolve the debate. Core sampling could reveal tool marks inside stones. Excavation might uncover artifacts, but preservation concerns and bureaucratic obstacles maintain the status quo. The monument keeps its secrets beneath protective waters. The Yonaguni Monument embodies a fundamental challenge in archaeology, distinguishing human creation from natural formation when both can produce similar results. It sits at the intersection of geology and archaeology, where each discipline's tools prove insufficient alone. The debate reflects larger questions about lost civilizations, catastrophic sea level rise, and humanity's true antiquity. Diving at Yonaguni, swimmers report consistent experiences regardless of their position in the debate. The structures feel artificial, too regular, too functional, too purposeful for random geology. Yet feeling isn't science. The monument might represent nature's capacity to create order that mimics intention, or evidence of capabilities we've barely begun to recognize in our ancestors. Until decisive evidence emerges, Yonaguni remains suspended between explanations, a riddle written in stone beneath the waves. From Pacific depths, we rise to Egyptian stone, where ancient carvings seem to depict impossible technology, challenging our understanding of what the ancients knew, or thought they knew. Deep within the Hathor temple complex at Dendera, down stone steps worn smooth by ancient feet, lie chambers where few modern tourists venture. Here, in underground crypts dedicated to mysteries of creation and divine power, unusual reliefs have ignited fierce debate about ancient Egyptian technology. Carved into walls where lamplight once flickered, or perhaps something else illuminated, are images that strike modern observers as impossibly familiar. Electrical devices millennia before their supposed invention. The controversial reliefs, dating to the Ptolemaic period around 50 BCE, show scenes that diverge from typical Egyptian religious art. The central image depicts what appears to be a transparent bulb or tube, elongated and slightly bulging. Within this bulb, a serpent extends from a lotus flower at one end, stretching through the bulb's length. Human figures hold these bulb-like objects, while thick cables or cords connect to a box-like structure. Supporting the bulbs are pillars resembling modern electrical insulators. Nearby, a baboon holds knives toward the bulb, a detail that gains new meaning if interpreted as a warning about dangerous voltage. To eyes accustomed to electric lighting, the resemblance seems unmistakable. The serpent could represent an electrical arc or glowing filament. The lotus might be a socket or electrode. The bulb shape mirrors early electrical discharge tubes or arc lamps. The cables appear braided like electrical wiring. The box resembles a power source. Even the baboon's threatening posture fits. In Egyptian symbolism, baboons could represent danger or sacred knowledge requiring careful handling. Egyptologists provide comprehensive religious interpretation grounded in Egyptian theology. The serpent represents Harsomtus, a form of Horus, emerging from a lotus of creation. The elongated shape isn't a bulb, but the night sky personified as the goddess Nut, who swallows and births the sun daily. The thick lines are lotus stems, not cables, a common motif in Egyptian art. The box is a jed pillar representing stability and divine power. Baboons greet the dawn throughout Egyptian art, connecting to solar worship. This mainstream interpretation faces challenges from alternative researchers who note practical anomalies in ancient Egyptian construction. Deep within pyramids and tombs, elaborate paintings cover walls and ceilings of chambers sealed from daylight. No soot mars these ancient masterworks, yet creating them would require extensive illumination. Traditional explanations invoke mirrors, oil lamps, and torches, but experiments show these provide insufficient light for detailed work while depositing soot. Did Egyptians possess alternative lighting methods? Proponents of electrical interpretation point to supporting evidence beyond Dendera. The Baghdad Battery demonstrates ancient peoples could generate electricity, even if purposes remain debated. Egyptian texts describe God's powers in terms suggestive of electrical phenomena. Divine light without heat, power that could kill instantly, forces that made hair stand upright. Temple rituals involved divine lights that impressed initiates. Were these purely theatrical effects, or did priests possess genuine electrical devices? Engineering analysis of the Dendera reliefs reveals intriguing details. The proportions match functional electrical devices more closely than typical religious symbolism. The cables show a braided pattern consistent with multiple conductors. The insulators display shapes optimal for preventing electrical discharge. Some researchers claim the entire configuration could function if recreated with appropriate materials. Experimental archaeologists have built working electric lights based on the Dendera specifications, though requiring modern batteries as power sources. Critics of electrical theory raise substantial objections. No electrical devices, wires, or components have been discovered in Egyptian archaeological sites despite extensive excavation. The metals available, copper, gold, silver, while conductive, appear in religious and decorative contexts without electrical applications. Egyptian texts, normally exhaustive in describing temple equipment, never explicitly mention electrical devices. The absence of supporting technology makes isolated electrical knowledge implausible. Recent temple studies reveal sophisticated but non-electrical engineering. Acoustic properties of certain chambers create voice amplification and strange echo effects. Polished metal mirrors could direct sunlight deep into structures. Chemical reactions between metals and sacred liquids might have produced impressive visual effects. These proven technologies could create mysterious lighting effects without requiring electricity. The relief's location in rarely accessed crypts suggests esoteric significance beyond practical lighting. These chambers likely housed cult statues and sacred objects, viewable only by high priests during specific rituals. The complex symbolism would convey religious mysteries to initiates while remaining opaque to others. This context supports religious rather than technological interpretation. Yet questions persist about Egyptian achievements. Their precision in working granite, their movement of massive stones, their astronomical knowledge, all suggest capabilities at the edges of what copper tools and muscle power should achieve. If they possessed additional technologies, even limited ones, evidence might be subtle or misinterpreted. The Dendera Light could represent religious metaphor for actual devices, with spiritual symbolism encoding technical knowledge. The phenomenon of apparent technological depictions in ancient art extends beyond Egypt. Hindu texts describe Vimanas with technical detail. Greek myths feature automatons and flying machines. Chinese legends tell of emperors' mirrors that reveal distant events. Do these represent universal human imagination of advanced technology or memories of achievements lost to mainstream history? The Dendera Light ultimately embodies the challenge of interpreting ancient images through modern perspectives. What seems obvious to contemporary eyes may completely misrepresent original meaning. Yet dismissing all technological interpretations risks missing genuine ancient achievements. The truth likely lies between extremes. Egyptians probably didn't possess electric lights, but their actual technologies might have seemed equally magical to outside observers. In those carved walls at Dendera, we see reflected our own assumptions about progress and the past. The images remind us that ancient peoples, whether through technology or symbolism, reached toward powers beyond the mundane. Their achievements, properly understood, might prove as impressive as any fantasy of ancient electrical engineering. From controversial Egyptian carvings, we ascend to the sacred texts of India, where descriptions of flying machines blur the boundaries between mythology and technology. In the sacred Sanskrit texts of ancient India, between genealogies of gods and philosophical discourses on the nature of reality, appear descriptions that make aerospace engineers pause in recognition. Vimanas, flying vehicles of the gods and heroes, receive treatment that transcends typical mythological narrative, including technical specifications, operational procedures, and tactical applications that seem impossibly detailed for pure imagination. The earliest references appear in the Rig Veda, composed around 1500 BCE, in oral tradition before written preservation. These initial mentions clearly situate Vimanas within mythological context, divine chariots traversing the three worlds of earth, atmosphere, and heaven. Like Apollo's sun chariot or Thor's goat-drawn wagon, they represent divine mobility and power. Yet, even these early descriptions include unusual specifics. Vehicles that move without animals, travel at thought speed, and maneuver in ways suggesting three-dimensional flight rather than linear celestial paths. Later epic literature provides increasingly elaborate accounts. The Ramayana, composed between 500 BCE and 500 CE, describes Ravana's Pushpaka Vimana in remarkable detail. An aerial vehicle containing chambers with windows, comfortable seats, and the capacity to transport numerous passengers. It could hover, accelerate rapidly, and land precisely. The Mahabharata presents aerial combat with tactical complexity matching modern dogfights. Vehicles maneuvering for position, deploying countermeasures, engaging at various ranges with different weapon systems. The text that ignites most controversy isn't ancient at all. The Vaimanika Shastra, despite claims of antiquity, was actually composed in the early 20th century. Sanskrit scholar G.R. Josier published it in 1974, based on psychic revelations claimed by Pandit Subbaraya Shastri between 1918 to 1923. This text provides elaborate technical details, mercury vortex engines, gyroscopic stabilization, radar-like detection systems, and pilot training requirements. However, Its modernity becomes obvious through anachronistic concepts reflecting early 20th century aviation and science fiction rather than genuine ancient knowledge. This modern forgery doesn't invalidate the mystery of Vimana descriptions in genuinely ancient texts. The Samarangana Sutradhara, an 11th century treatise on architecture by King Bhoja, includes chapters on mechanical devices, including flying machines. It describes materials like light wood, copper, quicksilver, and acids. While poetic and ambiguous, these sections treat Vimanas as mechanical possibilities rather than pure mythology, suggesting some tradition of technological speculation, if not achievement. Mainstream Sanskrit scholars correctly identify Vimanas as mythological and literary devices serving multiple narrative functions. Flying represents divine transcendence of earthly limitations. Aerial battles allow poets to stage conflicts unconstrained by geography. Technical details demonstrate the poet's imagination and add verisimilitude to epic narratives. No archaeological evidence supports physical flying machines in ancient India. No workshops, no components, no unambiguous depictions showing mechanical rather than magical flight. Yet certain textual details invite speculation. Descriptions often include effects consistent with advanced technology. Ground troops scattered by downdraft, thunderous noise during launch, vehicles leaving scorched earth. The Mahabharata describes weapons causing hair and nails to fall out, food to spoil, and birds to turn white, effects disturbingly similar to radiation exposure. While these could be poetic imagination, their specificity and consistency across texts suggest authors drew from some source beyond pure creativity. Alternative researchers propose various explanations for Vimana descriptions. Some suggest cultural memories of actual flying vehicles from a prehistoric civilization preserved in myth after technological collapse. Others propose extraterrestrial contact, with Vimanas representing misunderstood alien craft. More grounded theories suggest ancient Indians might have experimented with hot air balloons, gliders, or chemical rockets, achieving limited flight that expanded into legend. The broader context of Indian scientific achievement lends credibility to technological interpretations. Ancient Indians excelled in mathematics, inventing zero and decimal notation. Their astronomy calculated planetary orbits with remarkable accuracy. Ayurvedic medicine developed surgical techniques rediscovered only recently. Their metallurgy produced the rust-resistant iron pillar of Delhi. If they achieved such advances in other fields, why not aeronautics? Critical analysis reveals patterns distinguishing mythological from potentially historical elements. Divine Vimanas shapeshift, travel between dimensions, and violate physics freely. But some descriptions maintain internal consistency, suggesting actual vehicles, fuel requirements, maintenance needs, operational limitations. The Vaimanika Shastra, the ancient one referenced in other texts, not the modern forgery, allegedly contained information about alloys, propulsion, and pilot equipment. Unfortunately, lost. The Vimana phenomenon extends beyond India. Ezekiel's biblical vision describes a wheeled flying throne remarkably similar to Vimana descriptions. Chinese legends tell of the Qikung people who flew in aerial carriages. Native American traditions describe thunderbirds as mechanical rather than biological. These parallels suggest either universal human imagination of flight or shared memories of something witnessed. Modern archaeological findings add complexity without resolution. No Vimana components have been discovered, but absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence. Ancient sites like Mohenjo-daro show vitrification, suggesting extreme heat. Some bronze artifacts display aerodynamic properties. Cave paintings across India depict disc and cylinder shapes in aerial contexts. Individually dismissible, collectively they create patterns worth investigating. The Vimanas ultimately represent humanity's eternal dream of flight, whether achieved or merely imagined. They remind us that ancient peoples possessed sophisticated minds capable of envisioning technologies their materials couldn't realize. Whether pure mythology, garbled memories of lost achievements, or something between, Vimana descriptions demonstrate that human imagination has always soared beyond contemporary limitations. In these Sanskrit verses, we hear echoes of humanity's deepest aspirations to transcend earthly bounds, to harness powers beyond muscle and wind, to touch the realm of gods through human ingenuity. That dream, whether realized in ancient times or merely envisioned, eventually gave birth to our modern reality of flight. The Vimanas ask us, what dreams do we harbor today that future generations might make real? As our journey through these 15 mysteries concludes, we find ourselves back where we began, standing in that hidden library of impossible things, surrounded by questions that refuse simple answers. Each mystery we've explored has opened doorways to deeper inquiries about human achievement, lost knowledge, and the delicate dance between what we know and what we've forgotten. These enigmas share common threads that weave through time and across continents, remarkable achievements that push the boundaries of their eras, knowledge that appears and disappears like morning mist. The human drive to reach beyond immediate capabilities through imagination, effort, and perhaps wisdom we no longer possess. Our ancestors invested lifetimes in projects whose full purposes often elude us, encoding their aspirations in stone, metal, and memory. Perhaps the greatest mystery isn't what we've found, but how we interpret it. Modern eyes see ancient achievements through contemporary filters, sometimes recognizing genuine mysteries, sometimes projecting our own expectations onto the past. The challenge lies in balancing healthy skepticism with openness to revising our understanding when evidence demands it. Truth often dwells in the space between dismissal and credulity. As consciousness drifts toward sleep's embrace, let these mysteries settle into dreams where the boundaries between possible and impossible grow soft. In that twilight space between waking and sleeping, between known and unknown, the past whispers its secrets to those who listen with both imagination and discernment. Not every mystery yields to simple explanation. Not every ancient claim deserves belief, but in the tension between these extremes lies the advancement of knowledge. Ground-penetrating radar reveals structures beneath known sites. Ocean floors hold evidence of lower sea levels and lost coastlines. Remote locations await first investigation. Undeciphered scripts guard their secrets. Each year brings new discoveries that add pages to humanity's story while raising fresh questions about chapters we thought complete. The past surrounds us in achievement and enigma, in clear accomplishment and shadowed possibility. Tonight, you've glimpsed wonders that challenge assumptions while respecting evidence. Tomorrow brings new discoveries, new questions, new additions to our ever-growing understanding of human capability across time. These mysteries endure not because they defy explanation, but because they invite us to expand our conception of the possible. They remind us that human ingenuity has always pushed boundaries, that knowledge can be lost as well as gained, that the story of our species contains more wonders than any single generation can grasp. Sleep now and dream of ages when humans raised monuments to eternity, navigated vast oceans by stars we've forgotten to see, and reached toward powers that blur the line between achievement and aspiration. The questions remain. The library stays open, and in that openness lies the eternal human journey toward understanding.